Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my gut reaction to Nebraska's oh so beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? The oh so beautiful victory over Northwestern, 17-9 today. Now, Nebraska football, it's kind of like the ugly duckling. I don't know if I'm remembering that story right. Isn't the ugly duckling kind of really ugly, but the mom loves it anyways? I don't know if I'm remembering that story wrong. Let me know. But that's how Nebraska football is right now. And you watch Heinrich Haarberg. He's a guy that can be tough to watch, but easy to root for. And I hope that makes sense what the difference is. He's just a young guy. He's passionate. He's just going to get better. Please do it sooner rather than later in the pass game. But here's the deal. Okay, there were times when I was like, man, I wonder if Jeff Sims should get a chance. There was adversity in that game. As the game went along, Heinrich Haarberg played better and better. Also, we ran the ball more. The running game picked up just a little bit. Okay, he can be hard to watch, but I like rooting for him. I hope that difference kind of makes sense. All right, there were times throughout this game when it looked like our offense couldn't do the basic little things. Like we were like a middle school team out there. Now the defense, okay, we just couldn't do the basic little things, but the defense won this game plain and simple. All right, the defense had several sacks, great pressure on Northwestern's quarterback. In fact, I got to go back and double check. I think they ended up with 8 sacks and 13 tackles for a loss. Now, this was a Northwestern offensive line that was not great. Okay, they had given up the second most amount of sacks in the entire Big Ten Conference, only Illinois, where the S is silent, was worse. But Tony White devised up a great game plan, and he took advantage of that. It's not very often you get outgained. Okay, Northwestern actually had more total yards. It's not very often you have more turnovers. We had more turnovers than Northwestern did. They actually did have more penalties. They shot themselves in the foot several times, not only with the amount of penalties, but badly timed penalties, poorly timed penalties. It's not very often those things happen, though, when you win the game. Here's the deal. I don't want to say I don't care because I want us to get better and better, but we won the game. It's like that old Al Davis saying, just win, baby. All right, and if you're with me and you're just happy and you'll take it right now and you're just happy we won the game, smash that like button. Also, the injuries on offense, I want to wish those guys all a speedy recovery, okay, for several reasons. I wish them a speedy recovery, and if you're with me on that, smash that like button as well. Now, the Huskers snap a 4-game Big Ten home losing streak. Northwestern now hasn't won a Big Ten road game in their last 14 tries. Their last win was at Purdue in 2020. Yeah, there were times in this game when it was ugly. We know that. Adversity. But the Huskers battled through, especially on the defensive side of the ball. All right, so we're going to go back to pregame, first quarter, second quarter, walk through the game, give my overall gut reaction. Nebraska, 3-3. Each of the last 3 years has been our record going into the 7th game of the year, and then it kind of went downhill after that. Well, now we have our first winning record since October 26, 2019. Now, coming into this game, Northwestern had the worst rushing offense in the entire Big Ten Conference, averaging 103 rush yards per game. And Nebraska, and the worst rushing defense belonged to the Wildcats in the Big Ten Conference, giving up 172.3 yards per game. Now, Nebraska is averaging just over 200 rush yards per game, and they're actually one of only 8 coming into this game FBS teams to rank in the top 25 in both rushing offense and rush defense. All right, and the Blackshirts are actually second in the Big Ten in rush defense, giving up 75 yards per game coming in to the game today. Now, the other 7 teams that are top 25 rush offense, rush defense in the entire country, okay, pretty good company. Penn State, Oregon, Tennessee, UCLA, Kansas State, Air Force, and Cincinnati. Here's one other interesting pregame stat that I came across. Since Nebraska joined the Big Ten, Nebraska versus Northwestern, those games, 7 times they've been decided by 3 points or less. That's the most of any 2 teams playing each other during that time frame in the entire country as well, and that doesn't even include 1 overtime game. Now, the Huskers, okay, are last coming into this game in the Big Ten in pass defense, giving up 247 pass yards per game. But part of that is due to the fact other teams have a hard time running the ball. Northwestern actually had more success running the ball today than most teams do, but most teams don't have much success running the ball, so they pass the ball 68% of the time against the Blackshirts. I'm willing to bet on Northwestern's quarterback. Kind of wish they would have thrown the ball a little bit less today, as much as he got hit. All right, freshman running back Emmett Johnson got the start at running back today, not Anthony Grant, due to fumbling issues. Okay, first play of the game. Heinrich Haarberg throws the interception. Okay, the Blackshirts force a 3-and-out and get great pressure on Northwestern's backup quarterback, Brendan Sullivan, making his second straight start. All right. Now, Northwestern's first two possessions, their first three possessions, but I'll get into that. Their first two possessions both started in Nebraska territory. They didn't pick up a single first down on either drive. Okay, a second interception started Northwestern's third drive in Nebraska territory on the 13-yard line. Okay, in Nebraska territory. Again, the Blackshirts forced them to kick a field goal. Nash Huntmaker had 1.5 sacks already early on in the game, I believe. Okay, and after the Wildcats' first three drives, they had -9 total yards. They had 3 points and a 3-0 lead. Okay, the Huskers also had negative yards through their first three drives as well. Now, Nebraska's fourth drive, they moved the ball, and Tristan Alvano banged through a 47-yard field goal going against the north wind. I was very happy to see this for Tristan, and our offense. This tied the game up 3-3. At the end of the first quarter, Nebraska had 48 total yards, and Northwestern had 0. They ran 14 plays in the first quarter, and at the end of the first quarter, the Wildcats had 0 total yards. Now, at this point, I don't know, be amusing to you or not, it is what it is. We had almost as many INTs, too, as we did points. Okay, not a lot of pretty football or points so far was my note at this point in the game, but you can't call it boring. There was a lot of turnovers and sudden changes, so it wasn't boring. All right, I know Satterfield wants to throw the ball. Okay, and as the game wore along, we ran the ball more and more and more and more. Okay, but right out the gate, they had practiced throwing the ball more during the bye week. He clearly wants to throw the ball more. I don't want to say I don't care what he wants, but I care about results. The fact of the matter is we're a running team with a running quarterback, and Heinrich Harburg is Nebraska's leading rusher. Let's run the frickin' ball for the rest of the year. All right, now, if you're a general contractor, building owner, or property manager looking for concrete repair or work done in the Omaha metro area, such as street paving, building floors, and parking lots, check out dpsconstruction.net. I'm proud to be partnered with our good friend Jason Armstrong and his great company, DPS Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Now, right after I made some of these notes and I was like, we got to run the ball more, we started to, thank God. All right, Nebraska went on immediately right after that. They went on a 10-play, mostly run, 77-yard drive, took 5:25 off the clock. Okay, and 50 of those 70 yards were rushing yards, capped off by a Heinrich Harburg TD run. Now, he may not throw the best right now. Okay, and his arm angles are kind of funky. Okay, I've talked about that in the past. Something they can address in the offseason. I think my biggest question is it didn't used to look like that when he was a freshman and a couple years ago. How to get that way, story for another day. Here's my point. He sure runs hard. I love the way that kid runs the ball. He ran it in, capped off this drive for a touchdown run, put Nebraska up 10-6, and then it was halftime. All right, now normally I go through a whole list of halftime stats. I picked out what was interesting to me, just the most interesting ones. And here's what stood out to me. Okay, Northwestern had only 96 total yards at halftime. They were 1 of 6 on third downs. They only completed 2 passes and only attempted 6 the entire first half for a total of 10 passing yards in the first half. Yet they were only down 4 points. I was nervous. I was like, man, I feel like we're better, but you never know. I didn't like them being that close. Okay. Now, they had ran the ball 21 times up to that point, as I mentioned, only passed the ball 6 times. Now, Heinrich Harburg at halftime, okay, even though we'd thrown the ball more to start the game, kind of slowed down as the game progressed. He had 24 pass yards at halftime, the least amount by a Nebraska quarterback since 2019. Again, we're a running team. By God, we're a running option. Well, let's pitch the ball. Let's pitch the ball. Then we can actually say we're an option team. Okay, but a running option football team is what our strengths are. Now, my note was both teams had a very sloppy start to the second half. The Huskers put the ball on the turf multiple times already. In fact, up to this point in the game, we'd had 3 fumbles. Now, luckily, we'd recovered them all. And then this is where I said, we look like a middle school offense, injuries or not. Okay, I have a speedy recovery to those guys, but injuries or not, we don't look great offensively. Thank God the Blackshirts are legit defense again. I mean, they have played great football in 6 of our 7 games this year. Thank goodness for the 3-3-5 defense. Who knew I'd be saying that a year ago at this time? All right, Northwestern pretty much had a huge edge in field position most of the day. Okay, but they couldn't do a whole lot with it for the most part. Okay, we've got to be able to actually pitch the ball in the option play. I just talked about that. Otherwise, it's not really an option. Here was my other note. Otherwise, we just look like Iowa at best out there. Okay, Harburg is 6'5". Got to fix those throwing angles. Talked about that. He's a young player with phenomenal passion. Okay, got to get better, and he's only just gonna get better. All right, I am curious to see if they give Jeff Sims a few more options, or opportunities, I should say, this week in practice. I'm just curious to see how this unfolds as Matt Rule talks about things in his press conferences upcoming here in the next couple days. All right, early fourth quarter. A fake option play to a deep pass became a 44-yard touchdown pass from Heinrich Harburg to true freshman Malachi Coleman. I was excited when I heard he was going to get the start. I know we've had guys leave. We've had guys get banged up. I mean, why not? He's as talented or more talented than any wide receiver that we have, okay? This puts the Huskers up 17-6. Obviously, keep your eye on Coleman and keep your eye on Jalen Lloyd. Two very young, fast wide receivers with bright futures, both those guys. Okay, and right now, Malachi Coleman gives us that deep threat that we've really been missing all year, okay? Now, Northwestern scored a field goal on their ensuing possession, 17-9. Okay, Nebraska leads 17-9 in the fourth quarter, and then that ended up being the final score. There was a couple threats here and there. Nebraska, Tony White ended up blitzing the pants off of Northwestern, basically to close out the end of the game. Got a couple of sacks there at the end. My final thoughts are, it was ugly at times. There was adversity at times. They kept fighting, scratching, clawing. My God, we've got to get better. That's no secret. Thank goodness for a great defense. Let's just run the ball on offense and incorporate play action pass. Just my opinion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below. All right, first of all, do you agree with me? What did I miss? What did I not miss? What do you dislike, like that I had to say? Aside from that, here are my questions. Should Jeff Sims get more opportunities in practice this week? Let me know in the comments below. Also, I haven't said the phrase TTB much at all this year. Not like I used to. I don't know why, just haven't. But here's my question. I haven't said TTB as much this year. If you know what TTB means, let me know in the comments below. Also, we have a winning record for the first time in 4 years. Here's my question though. Do you feel better or worse about the Huskers after today? All right, as always, check out all the game reactions that are going to be going up over the next 24 to 48 hours. You got John Johnston Coordination. Check it out at CarrikerChronicles.com. Connor Hayden of Corn Craze, CarrikerChronicles.com. Obviously, the Big Tent Show, Carriker Chronicles itself, Doc Talk with Rob Zadiska, Travis Justice, a plethora. I've been told I say it too much. I don't care. A plethora of people. Check them all out. CarrikerChronicles.com. Until next time, Husker Nation, go big. Red Nose, remember to throw the bug.